the communications specialist for the CERF Savings Plan, and Jim is going to be providing an overview of the CERF pension. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim.
Connie, welcome everybody. We sure appreciate everyone dialing in. As Connie mentioned, we would normally, Robert and I would be in the field, and we'd be going around to counties and talking about the pension plan and the savings plan and answering your questions. So we're going to make do with a virtual webinar. I think the main thing to stress here is that we're still here for you, even though we're not physically in your counties. We are available by phone, by email. Please reach out to us anytime you have questions. Just because COVID has stopped our travel, we're still in business. CERF Pension and CERF Savings still there for you. It hasn't affected any of the operations of CERF Pension or Savings, except that we're not allowed to travel right now. I hope everyone can hear me all right. If you can't, let Connie know. If you have any questions, please pass them along through Connie, and she will interrupt me. I've told her to go ahead and speak up if we have questions, but I'm just going to give you a quick run through of the basics of the CERF pension plan. So let's go to the first slide, please.
Jim?
Yes.
You're cutting in and out just a little bit. Could you make sure you're speaking directly into the phone or microphone, whichever you're using?
I'm using the phone, and I think I'm speaking directly into it, but let me know if it's hard to hear.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Okay, so a little background on CERF. In 1994, about half the counties in Missouri had no retirement at all. About half were in another plan called Loggers, L-A-G-E-R-S. But about the other half had zero retirement. So the state legislature created the County Employees Retirement Fund in 1994. And the only counties not included are St. Louis, St. Charles, and Jackson. They're big enough that they've got their own retirement plans, but everybody else is in CERF, and some are in CERF and Loggers. If we were in a big room right now, I'd say, who are my Loggers counties, and you'd see about half the hands go up. So those people have CERF and Loggers, but everybody else has at least CERF. Let's go to the next slide, please. The way the legislature drew up the statutes, some people are not in CERF. And so let me just run through those real quickly. Circuit clerks, court employees under a circuit judge or an associate circuit judge, election employees of independent election boards, extension employees, juvenile employees. County health could be if they're controlled by a county commission, otherwise they are not. The elected prosecuting attorney and the elected sheriff. Now, everyone else in those offices is in CERF, but the elected prosecutor and elected sheriff are not. And then 911 emergency management, same thing. If controlled by the county commission, yes, they are in CERF, otherwise they are not. Again, this is how the statutes were drawn up. This is not us just being, whimsical. This is how it's set up. Let's go to the next slide, please. So if you're in a CERF eligible county and you are not one of the people I just named, then you are in CERF. Participation anymore is mandatory. If you were hired on or after January 1 of 2000 and working at least 1,000 hours a year, you do have to be in CERF. Now, part-time people working fewer than 1,000 hours a year are not automatically enrolled in CERF, but once they do get to 1,000 hours a year, then they do become enrolled in CERF. Let's go to the next slide, please. So, CERF is funded through different mechanisms, but the one that affects you folks is employee contributions. And so if you're a Loggers employee and you were hired before February 25 of 2002, you got grandfathered in. You do not actually have to contribute out of your paycheck to be in CERF. If you're a Loggers employee hired on or after February 25 of 2002, you are contributing 4% to CERF. If you're a non-loggers employee hired before February 25 of '02, you're contributing 2%. And if you're a non-loggers employee hired on or after February 25 of 2002, you're contributing 6%. Now, it's possible that your counties may be helping you with some of those contributions. Most counties don't. A few do, and we give counties a chance each year to elect what they're going to do in the upcoming calendar year regarding participation contributions. But in most cases, it's you, the employees, who are actually contributing to CERF. Let's go to the next slide, please. So the goal of any plan is to become vested, and that just means you have a permanent right to the benefit, in this case, a pension plan. So with CERF, you are vested when you have 8 consecutive years and 1,000 hours a year. If you leave county employment and you do not have those 8 years in a row, you'll get a full refund of the amount that you've contributed to the CERF pension. But once you get to that 8th year, when you get to 1,000 hours in that 8th year, then you are vested, which means you will get a pension from CERF. Let's jump to the next slide, please. So we pay full benefits at age 62. Now, some of you are in loggers, and they do have different age requirements, but I'm talking about the CERF pension side. We pay full benefits at 62. You could take your benefit as early as 55 at a reduced amount, as long as you've got those eight consecutive years under your belt. So we're going to run a formula, and the formula looks at how long did you work and how much did you earn. And at 62 or older, you get that full amount. You could take it as early as 55 at a reduced amount. The pension is paid as a monthly direct deposit into your bank account. That's the only way the law allows us to pay it. Now, loggers has different options. But with CERF, it's going to be that monthly direct deposit. For instance, there's no lump sum option with CERF. Now, if you're non-vested, yes, you get a lump sum refund of the amount you'd contributed. But if you're vested, if you've got those 8 years, then we will pay you a benefit as a monthly direct deposit into your bank account. If you are not vested and you have a refund coming, then you can take that, and it does become a taxable event. That money has gone into CERF on a pre-tax basis. It will be a taxable event when you take it out. You could, however, decide to roll it into another qualified plan with a new employer or an IRA or something like that, and then it's not a taxable event to roll it over. Let's go to the next slide, please. While you're employed with CERF, couple things to be aware of. There is a $10,000 death benefit in effect. Now, this goes away when you stop working for the county, but as long as you're actively on the books, if anything were to happen to you, we would pay $10,000 to whoever you have listed as your beneficiary or beneficiaries, if you have more than one listed. Your beneficiary would receive a refund of any contributions paid to you if you die before becoming vested, before getting that 8th year under your belt. If you are married and vested, so you've got your 8 years and you're married, and you were to die while you're still employed, you haven't retired yet, there would be the $10,000 death benefit, plus your spouse would be eligible for a 50% survivor benefit. So half of what your pension would have been would be paid for the rest of your spouse's life. If you were unmarried and vested, so you've got those 8 years, but you're not married, and you were to die prior to retiring, your survivor would get the $10,000 death benefit plus a refund of all contributions paid into the CERF pension plan. Please keep those beneficiaries current with us, especially if you had any life-changing events. There have been cases where there's a divorce and a remarriage, and the beneficiary never got changed. the employee dies, and the ex-spouse gets the money. So please let us know if you had any life-changing events. Keep those beneficiaries current. If you're not sure who your beneficiaries are, they're available on our website, mocerf.org. If you go to our member portal, or we send you an annual statement every April, you can look at that and see if they're current. Or if you don't have that statement and you don't want to go to the website, just call our office. We'll be glad to look up your info and keep it current. By the way, just because you've changed your beneficiaries with, let's say, CERF pension, does not mean you changed it with CERF savings or loggers or any other benefit providers you may have out there. We don't record keep each other's plans, so you want to make sure it's current with each plan you've got. Let's go to the next slide, please. I mentioned the member portal. It's mocerf.org, mocerf.org. The member portal is a great way to view your information, make changes to your account. If you've never registered on there, you need a member ID. You can call our office, 877-632-2373. We will provide that ID number and help you get logged on to the website. It's just an easy way to keep track of what's going on with your CERF pension. And then finally, here's our contact information. You can see our switchboard number, 877-632-2373. There's our fax number, our website. I've also included the Empower info on that, and I think Robert's going to be mentioning his contact information more later on. But that's a real brief run through of the CERF pension plan. We are trying to provide a dignified retirement to public employees, and every one of you is a public servant. Every one of you is making your communities a better place by working for the county, and you deserve a dignified retirement, and that's what we're trying to provide. Nobody's going to get rich off their CERF savings plan, but I tell you what, it might make a difference to some people, and you have it coming. You've worked all your careers making your communities a better places, and you deserve a dignified retirement, and we appreciate all of you so much, especially in these challenging times right now. Even in good times, you are our heroes because you're out there in your communities helping, but certainly right now with the pandemic, we rely on you folks so much, and we appreciate you very much. So that's all I've got. I am going to turn it back over to Connie, and I think she's going to introduce Robert.
Hey, thanks, Jim. Before I introduce Robert, we do have a couple of questions for you. First of all, how do CERF and loggers relate to each other?
They really don't, except in the amount that you contribute as an employee. I showed you that one slide where your contributions amounts are different if you're in CERF or loggers, but otherwise they're completely separate plans, completely different record keeping.
Okay, and then also, is this presentation available on the CERF portal?
Yes, we have another really nice presentation in addition to this one called New Employee Orientation, and it covers all of this. It's available at mocerf.org, and then this presentation will also be available there.
All right, well, that's all we had for questions. So, Jim, thank you very much. We appreciate it. So as Jim stated, I am going to now turn it over to Robert Eastburn. Robert is the retirement plan advisor who works for Empower Retirement and is the person who is the expert when it comes to the CERF 457 and 401A savings plan. So Robert, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Connie, and thanks, Jim. And thank you to everyone that's attending today's webinar. You know, it's kind of a different world, as we all know, that we find ourselves in right now, and we appreciate you making the effort to be a part of this. And I'd like to talk just a little bit with everyone today about your overall retirement and how your CERF savings plan can really be a nice part of that picture. So one question we all need to be thinking about is when we think about retirement is where is our retirement income going to come from, and do we have enough income coming in to live the type of retirement that we imagine that we want to. Many financial advisors recommend that in order to cover your retirement income needs, so that we're going to need between 70 to 90% of our income that we had while we were working in order to maintain the same type of lifestyle or standard of living once we reach retirement. And that doesn't all have to come from one source. You know, Jim talked about your CERF pension, and some of you may have both CERF and loggers pensions will be a source of your income. Social Security can be a source of your income. You may have other assets, rental properties, farm operations, things of that nature. But your CERF savings plan could be a good source to help you replace some of that income. And I do want to talk just a little bit about the specifics of your plan and some of the reasons why enrolling in your plan could be a benefit to you and really help you make that retirement picture be what you want it to be. So one of the things that to keep in mind is when you put money into CERF savings, that money goes in on a pre-tax basis. So it's like for income tax, both federal and state, you didn't earn it that year, which reduces your taxable income and may lower your overall tax. In addition, you may be eligible, depending on what your income level is, for something called a saver's credit. In addition to that, that's something that if you have questions about that, you really should talk to your tax preparer to see how that could help. But basically, when you put the money in, it goes in pre-tax. It earns tax deferred, so you don't pay taxes on the earnings each year as the money's being earned. And then someday in retirement, when you do take the money out of the CERF savings plan, it will be taxable income to you at that point. So how does vesting work with this plan? Well, there's a couple different contributions that could happen. And the money that CERF puts in for you, the matching, is the only thing that is subject to vesting. And it becomes 100% vested, in other words, 100% yours, after having 5 qualified years of service. Now, Jim had mentioned that the pension needs 8 years with at least 1,000 hours per year on payroll. For the savings, it's 5. That doesn't mean that you won't get the match. The match will be deposited each year in March for the previous calendar year. It's just you have to have a minimum of 5 years of service with the county to be able to take the match with you when you leave the county someday. Now, your contributions, your voluntary contributions that go into the 457, those are vested immediately. There's no waiting time period on those for vesting. Those are automatically always yours. And if you are a non-loggers covered employee, there is a 0.7% mandatory contribution into the 401A. That is also vested immediately, and there's no waiting period on that. So matching contributions are kind of like free money. Basically, CERF matches a percentage of the contribution up to a stated maximum. And the way that has worked over the last several years is that the match has been 50% of the first 6% of your salary that you defer. Now, this is voted on each year by the board from CERF, and it is subject to change. But just to give you an example, if you put in 4% of your gross salary and qualified for the match, then CERF would put in 2%. If you put in 6%, they would put in 3%. If you put in 10%, the match is only against the first 6%, so 3% is the most that would be matched in that example. Now, again, this is something that is subject to change, and if each year, once the vote is done, CERF typically lets us know what that's going to be for that year. Again, 2020, these are the numbers we're looking at for this year. So not only are you having the opportunity to set some of your own money back for retirement, but you're having the opportunity of getting matching funds to really compound the growth of those accounts. So you're the ones that's in charge. You can make the contributions. You can change your contributions throughout the year. There is not an open and closed enrollment for the CERF savings plan. You get to invest in a way that suits your needs, and you can save as little or as much as you want to. The minimum is $10 per pay period to be able to contribute. Now, there are some IRS limits, and it's like for 2020, it's $19,500. Or if you're age 50 or older, there's an additional 6,500, so up to 26,000 that you could put in would be the upper limits. Now, you don't have to do that much to participate. And here's where I'm going to deviate just a little bit from the slides and just tell you, if you're not doing the CERF savings plan, you really should consider it, because when you think about your long-term goals, the types of income you're going to have in retirement, if you have Social Security, that's going to pay you on a monthly basis. That's a monthly check. Your CERF pension is a monthly payout. A logger's pension may be a monthly payout. The money that you contribute to CERF savings, when you get to retirement, you decide how you take that. You could take a little bit per month, or you could take a little here and a little there, or you could take it all at once. It's flexible money for you to spend when you need to on what you need to. So it really gives you a lot more flexibility in retirement by having contributed to the CERF savings plan over the years, in addition to your CERF pension and or logger's pension and Social Security. So one of the things that is different in this, there are decisions, though, that you make along the way. And one of the decisions is how to have your account invested. Now, sometimes when I meet with people face-to-face, they say, Robert, you know, hey, I'm really good at this, and I want to take care of managing it all myself, and that's fine. We've got the resources out there to do that. We call that a do-it-myself investor. Sometimes I'll meet with people, though, and they'll say, you know, Robert, I really would like some information, and then with that information and some tools, I'm glad to manage it on my own, but I do want a little help with that, and we call that the help me do it. And then sometimes I talk with folks, and they're like, you know what, Robert, I'd just rather have it professionally managed, and that's an option in your plan as well. So just to quickly go through, you have the option of having it professionally managed through the managed account service as provided through Advised Assets Group, which is a part of Empower family of companies. And with that, basically, we build a profile for you based off of your goals, your needs, when you want to retire, all of this information, and then we manage the investments for you on that. There is a small fee for that. You can get some tools. We call this online advice or help me do it through the Empower website, where you can get guidance on how to do it, but it's up to you to make the changes. Now, I will stop for just a moment, Connie, and I want to make this available to everyone that if you're not sure what you're doing now or what's the best fit for you or how your money's invested, this would be an opportunity for you to schedule one of those individual meetings with me on a private basis, where we can go through and review your account over the phone, see what you're doing, go over your options, make sure you've got a good understanding of how all of that works. Because our goal is to help you be as prepared for retirement as you can be. So we want to make sure that this is all going the way that it needs to for you. And that would be one reason that you might want to meet with me and have one of those virtual meetings that we hold over the phone. I will also say, for those of you that are out there that want to do it on your own, you know, when you build your portfolio, all a portfolio is a mix of investments. You can do that through the website. There's a lot of information, but I would encourage you to look at doing some diversification, to have some different asset allocation and different investments, not putting necessarily all of your investments just in one basket, unless that basket goes out and does the diversification for you. So if you're a do-it-myself person, you really want to take a look at how your money's invested and make sure it's still a good match for you. One thing to consider is the closer you get to retirement, generally speaking, the lower risk level you may want to consider taking. Now, when I say retirement here, I'm not necessarily meaning the age you quit work, but the age you will start needing to use your CERF savings money. Because sometimes I talk with people and they are in a wonderful position, and between their pension or pensions and their Social Security, that when they're ready to retire, they're going to have the same type of income or maybe even a little bit more just from those sources than what they had while they're working, and they're not going to need their CERF savings money maybe for 10 or 15 years into retirement. So when we think about retirement and adjusting your risk level and things of that nature, we're really targeting when you're going to need the money, not the date necessarily you stop working for the county someday. If you are not currently participating in the CERF savings plan, again, as I mentioned earlier, this is open for enrollment all year long. You can enroll directly from the Empower website, empowermyretirement.com. You would just go and click on the green register button, follow the instructions. It will allow you to enroll. It will allow you to set up the contributions that you want to have withheld from your paycheck. It will also allow you to set up your beneficiaries. And as Jim mentioned earlier, your beneficiaries on CERF savings are separate from your beneficiaries on CERF pension. So it's important to take care of that and establish those. If you are not comfortable doing the online enrollment, there are forms you can get from your county clerks or HR office to enable you to do the enrollment that way as well. I do want to mention that if you've not done so, that there are a ton of really good resources to help you track what you're tracking for in retirement and what your retirement account, especially your CERF savings, is looking like through the website. You can see that on an iPhone or an Android phone, an Apple Watch, or through a desktop or laptop. Any of the above, I'm going to encourage you, if you've not done so, to set up the Empower website to view your account. One thing that is fairly new on the Empower website is something called My Financial Path. And this helps you on a more holistic look of your entire financial picture to see what's the best next step that you might want to take for total retirement. And that may be saving more in the savings plan. That may be paying off student loans. It may be looking at different things and different avenues. So it's not just all about retirement, but the My Financial Path is available right off of the Empower website to give you some guidance on a holistic look at your total financial situation and what are your next best steps. As always, even though we are not physically able to be there to meet with you face-to-face, we are still here to help. And you can call me. The number on my screen is my cell phone number. You can reach out to Empower Retirement customer service number on the 800 number there, or you should get some information on how to schedule an individual meeting with me. If you would like to do that, basically you just pick the time that works for you and I would call you at that time to do a more private and individual session. Connie, that's the information that I have for today. Did we have any questions come through about the CERF savings plan?
Yes, we actually did, Robert. The first one is, what happens to the mandatory contribution if I leave the county?
Okay, so when you leave the county, regardless of what type of contribution it is, as long as it's vested, so it's your money and you're entitled to it when you leave the county, you make decisions. If your balance is less than $1,000, you'll need to roll that out or distribute the funds to you or take it to a new employer plan or an IRA or something of that nature. If your balance is over $1,000, you can continue to leave it in the CERF savings plan until such time as you make a decision on what you want to do all the way through retirement even. So sometimes we will have people that will leave county employment and they'll leave that money in until they're ready to retire and let it be invested. And they, just because a person leaves the county doesn't mean that you're required to close out your CERF savings account at all if your balance is $1,000 or more. And it still means I'm still available to work with you and help you with any questions about your retirement, even after you've left county employment, as long as that account's still open.
Okay. Can we adjust our withholding from the website? And I'm assuming they're talking about the contribution. Can they change their contribution amount on the website?
Absolutely. And that's a wonderful question. Thank you for that. Basically, there's just a little slider when you log in, and it should show what you're contributing now. In some cases, it may not, because this is relatively new, show your current contribution. But you can slide that across to what you want your contribution to be, click review, and then click submit, and then your payroll department will get a notification from Empower to change your contribution amount. One thing to keep in mind, contribution changes happen the first of the month after you submit the change. So it's not something that's necessarily going to happen immediately, because they all have to wait till the first of the new month according to the IRS guidelines.
All right, thank you, Robert. I did have a question for Jim, that I saw just a little bit too late. So Jim, I am going to ask this question of you, but Robert, don't go away because there are still questions coming in. So Jim, does the $10,000 death benefit reduce as someone gets older?
No, that's a $10,000 death benefit as long as you're actively on the books. It doesn't matter what age you are.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Okay, I'm taking a look at a question. As far as vesting is concerned, define a year. Is it a calendar year? If I begin in August, is it August to January and then resets in January? So Robert,
Jim, do you want to take that? Or I can take it. Basically, if during the calendar year between January 1 and December 31, you have 1,000 hours on payroll, that is a vested year the minute you hit 1,000 hours on payroll. Now, again, if we look at calendar year of January 1 through December 1, the minute you hit 1,000, it's a vested year. If you do not get 1,000 hours during that calendar year, that particular time period does not count as vesting.
All right. I think that did answer all of the questions. I don't see any more out there. So first of all, thanks to everybody who attended today. And just a reminder, if you found this helpful for your coworkers, we are hosting 2 more of the virtual benefits fairs, one on November 17th at 1 p.m., the other on December 1st at 9 a.m. And so you will be getting information with regard to those seminars. And I know one of the things that some of the folks on this call have done is they have logged in, dialed into the webinar, and then are sharing it with a group of their coworkers with other employees. So then only one person had to log in. So certainly we encourage you to do that as well. So again, thanks to everybody for attending, and thank you, Jim and Robert. You both did an excellent job presenting, and everybody have a good rest of your day.